Welcome to this week's edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Lines are open, 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450, or if you choose the email route, maybe you're bashful, kfizstudio@gmail.com. And joining us, as he does every Saturday morning, the one, the only, I'll use it again this year, the inimitable Ron Rademann.
I'm here.
Well, good, because your body is. I'm glad you're with it.
I'm not sure. I can't ever say that word, so whatever it means.
Just live it. Just live
I'll
it.
trust you.
It's a good word.
Well, anyway, yeah, I'm here, and Rademann's is open today, so that's always a good sign. And got the sun that's gonna start peeking out, hopefully, and it's a little chilly, but
Yeah, it's almost chilly weather.
It's good working weather, good outdoor working weather, good indoor working weather too, I guess, for that matter.
Yeah, just plain good working weather. And also joining us, Master Gardener Delores. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
And I'll ask her a real quick question here before we get going.
Sure.
You got a sale coming up.
We do in 2 weeks from today. And it's our Master Gardener plant sale at the fairgrounds in Fond du Lac on Martin Avenue. And it's from 9 to 3. Come early because once they're picked over, there isn't any additions added to the tables.
It's all out.
It'll all be out. And our friend Patty will be, again, doing container gardens for people. You can bring your pots. And for a $5 charge, she puts the soil in and helps you pick out plants to put in there. And you just pay for the plants and the $5 for the soil, for the potting.
That's a good deal. Saves all kinds of work on
Oh,
our behalf.
It sure
That's
does.
for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. And she's creative. I wouldn't be.
Oh, she's awesome.
I would rely on her over her expertise over my lack thereof. So we had
Well, and when you're putting things together like that, understanding like bloom sequence and things like that is important too. You can't just, if you walk into the plant sale and pick out the prettiest plants this week, they're probably not going to be the best ones come June, July, or August either. So
Well, so many people pick out this one that's all shade and this one that's all sun. And Patty will make sure you don't do that. She'll say, here's another one in this color that will suit your spot.
Okay, so there's not just planting, it's guidance.
Oh, yes.
A lot of guidance. And, if you like your point, if you want a continual bloom in your container, you need different varieties.
yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah, and understanding that was a good point, Delores, too, with the fact that shade or sun makes a big difference too. So that's typically when people are at the first question, well, what would you put in your yard? Well, what I put in my yard might be different than what I'd put in your yard because, if it's sunny where I'm, my deck is sunny and your deck is shady, well, it's a big difference whether you're putting shrubs around your deck or patio or putting it in a container. You have to understand the differences. And of course, everybody's deck is pretty sunny right now, but in 2 weeks when things are, leaf out and then it can be pretty shady.
I do pots for my neighbor, and he has a lot of shade, so he gets a lot of plants that I can't put in my yard.
Okay. We got a caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I am calling to let the listeners know about an African violet show and sale that will be happening next weekend, May 2nd and 3rd. It will be in Oshkosh at St. Jude, the Apostle Church Hall. And the location is 531 Knapp Street. That is spelled Knapp Street in Oshkosh. And the show will be open on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 and on Sunday from 11:30 to 3. And just like the Master Gardener's sale, If you want the best choice of plants, come Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Good plan.
Yes, good luck with that.
All righty. Well, thanks for the update. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with your sale coming up. 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Lines are open. Don't forget email, kfizstudio@gmail.com. There.
There, we got that out of the way.
It's out of the way.
I guess we can remind everybody that if you can't listen to the whole show today, you can tune in later in the weekend or early next week at KFIZ, and you can on demand, or otherwise you can subscribe to us on YouTube and watch or listen, whatever you prefer. There isn't usually a lot to see, but
The face with the voice.
but you can turn the YouTube on and listen to it while you're doing dishes or whatever you're doing, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not
Gardening.
vacuuming. Maybe not vacuuming.
Yeah, vacuuming, that'd be tough. All right, we got a caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, give me some information on how to plant a magnolia bush.
How to plant a magnolia bush?
Yes.
Well, the first important thing you can do is always dig the hole a little bit bigger than what the pot or the ball is, and not necessarily deeper, just wider, because most plants, magnolia included, don't really have a lot of deeper roots. As a matter of fact, they probably won't have any roots much deeper than the ball or the pot that it's in. So, spend your energy digging the hole wider rather than deeper, which is always a lot easier to do in the first place. Yeah. And then you want to mix in some good planting soil together with the existing dirt when you backfill around it. As in any plant, never put dirt on top of the root ball or on top of the pot. That you put your gardening mix, your planting soil around the plant, not on top of the plant. And you put wood chips or bark mulch, a product like that on top rather than dirt. If you put dirt on top, it will never do well. It will always be suffering, let's just say. It'll probably survive, but it won't thrive. So never put dirt on top of the ball. I like using NutriPack fertilizer packets. Those are available out at Rademann's. And the reason I like them is because they're kind of, so as we say, idiot-proof. And what that means is you just put the packet in the bottom of the hole. You don't have to worry about putting too much fertilizer in or not enough. It's pre-measured, and it fertilizes over a 4 or 5 year period. So that's what makes it really nice, is you don't have to think about it for a few years. You know that it's getting fed properly. Magnolias like a balanced fertilizer, not a lot of nitrogen, so don't use lawn fertilizer. A balanced fertilizer means, the three numbers are all somewhat equal. And out at Rademann's, we have 16, 16, 16. It doesn't get much more balanced than that. That's in those NutriPack packets. And
if you would plant it like middle of May, I hope we'll be able to get that in. But how long does it take to bloom like that?
Well, it's probably blossoming right now. If it's from this area originally, and so if you buy it at a garden center right now, and it was from here, it would be blossoming right now. If it came from further south, it could be finished blossoming. If it came from further north, which probably isn't likely, it might still be. And so, do you have it already?
No, we're going to go down about the second week in May.
Yeah, it'll be finished blossoming by then, that's for sure.
Yeah, they'll be done.
I don't know where you're buying it, but by the middle of May, they might all be gone.
Well, I already got 2 ordered, so.
Oh, that's
okay.
good.
Well, then you're in good shape.
Now we want to know how to plant them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You might
Well,
want
I'll
to
just-
add some compost when you mix in.
What?
You might want to add compost to your soil when you mix it, and make sure you water.
Water, water, water.
Right.
Okay. I kind of. Someone was telling me they said you sure you keep them wet.
Yes.
Okay, and that would be pretty much what right after you plant them, you have to do that.
Oh,
well,
yes.
you want to water them, probably, 4 or 5 times the first week or 10 days.
Yeah.
And then magnolias don't like a lot of water. Well, let me restate that. They don't like to be watered too frequently. So, once it's planted, you're probably only going to water it maybe once a week or even maybe once every 10 days.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
regular.
but that's after the first couple weeks. Like Delores says, you got to, get it good and wet that first. You can't overwater it in 2 weeks, but you can if you continue to water it too often as the summer goes on. It needs to dry out in between, and that way the roots will reach out for moisture, and it's kind of tough love, as we say. You want them to dry out so that they develop new roots and go searching for water.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we got. I think it'll be a couple of weeks. We've already got them ordered. Okay. Well, listen. I appreciate that. We'll probably be out to get that fertilizer thing. You put that in right before you set the.
Right. Yeah. Actually, what you'll do is dig the hole and set the plant in, and then put a couple shovels full of planting soil around it. And then once you put those couple shovels full in and pack those in real good, then put your fertilizer packet in, or 2, depending on how large of a plant you've got.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that goes in the bottom of the hole, usually about 12 inches down. 15 inches down is ideal.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, you gave me enough information. I sure appreciate it. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
And thank you for
Thanks.
the call.
And
Okay.
when you
Go ahead.
plant shrubs or trees, you want to water, but you don't want to use force. You want to water slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point,
Or
Dolores.
the
Yeah.
trickle.
Yep,
A trickle.
a
Oh,
trickle.
that's a good word for it. A
I call it a steady drip.
That's the definition of a trickle.
Right.
Webster.
Not a true drip, but
A trickly one.
yeah, only on about 20 or 25% flow is. That way it soaks in to the whole area, not just the top inch.
All righty. Let's take our first break.
All right, yeah, take a break. It's Saturday, so Rademann's is open till noon today. And the easiest way to find Rademann's is work your way over to Highway 41. And then out of Fond du Lac, you would head south. We're about 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, just off County Trunk B as in boy. You just head to the east just a little bit, and we're right there at the crest of the hill.
All right, lines are open for you. 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Emails are available. KFIZstudio@gmail.com. We are back. Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Ron, how do you clean weathered flagstone?
Well, what happens with a lot of times with flagstone is it'll get a little, mold or mildew on it.
Right,
And
that's what it's got. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I saw was just sweep it off and use dish soap or something.
Yeah, it actually, even more like bleach or something that kills the
Right.
the mold or the mildew that's on it pretty much works the best. You could put it in like a small, if you have like a power washer, or you could spray it on with a
tank.
either a 1 gallon sprayer. Just spray it on that way, and then just wait a little bit, I don't know, an hour or so, and then rinse it off with a garden hose. It should work.
How about a wire brush?
Well, I would hope you wouldn't have to work quite that hard.
Yeah, I don't know how long. It's in a friend of mine's yard, and I looked at it. It's got lichens and mold, green stuff, and it's not a smooth surface.
Yeah. See, that's where I think spraying it and power washing it, or even a power washer might work better than like a wire brush would. I would think you could get it reasonably clean that way instead of putting a wire brush to it, because boy, that sounds like it'd be pretty labor intensive.
Yeah, it's a big round circle around a fire pit. So
Yeah, I would try just spraying it with bleach first and then power washing it.
straight bleach or diluted?
Well, it's probably slightly diluted. I don't know, maybe 20% or 25% and something like that, maybe. Should be good enough.
25% bleach.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these things, if we've got somebody else listening that is, that has had continued success doing this, please call in and give us, tell us how it works for you. Every you're working with natural stone, so some of it's a little more pimpled and dimpled, and some of it's smooth as glass. Right. So you can have varying results. And sometimes it's been longer in between cleanings, and sometimes it's shadier. And if you're woods, there's more problems than if you're in a city backyard. And
Sure.
So you almost got to kind of play around with it a little, so to speak, and see what works best in your case. And if we get a couple people calling in, we're going to probably get a couple different opinions as to how it works best too. So if we don't get anybody to call in, I would try it that way first. And
what about something like trisodium phosphate?
I'm not really familiar with that product.
Well, the original blend was banned, and now this is a newer. You use it for like cleaning walls and.
That might work good, but a lot of times when you're spraying like that, adding just a little squirt of Dawn really breaks up the molecules and helps the process you're doing.
You mean like Dawn and the bleach?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, whenever it kind of acts as a surfactant too, so it helps it stick right to those lichens and things like that. If you add if you add a little bit of dish soap or Dawn like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Artie, appreciate the call. Lines open, 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Barbara brings up an interesting question here. She says, I'm planning to participate in the Clean Sweep today. We have several garden products that have dates back to 2010. How long can you use these products? Are there safer products that you would recommend to use on weeds near the lake? She doesn't believe that Roundup products are safe for your health.
Well, for the most part, if a chemical hasn't been involved in freezing and thawing cycles, it doesn't really have a real shelf life. So I don't know that you have to worry too much about, about dates on products like that. Using them on weeds is different than, eating and drinking things for your body. So, I don't worry too much about, as a matter of fact, if you have NutriPrac fertilizer packets that you bought 20 years ago and they're in your garage, they're probably just as good today as what they were. Now, a liquid product, if it's on your basement shelf, it's fine. But if it was out in your garage and it was freezing and thawing there, it might not, but I always tell people, even, just if you have a weed killer that's 3 or 4 years old, well, maybe just apply it a little bit heavier.
Right.
It's going to lose some of its effectiveness, but but maybe you put it on double and at least get rid of it. It's probably best to use it up on your lawn than to dispose of it anywhere
system,
else.
yeah.
That way you're it'll displace itself over your entire yard.
There's a product called Rodeo that you can use as a weed killer near water sources like lakes and ponds.
Okay, I was just going to remind you guys of that question. And what was it called?
Rodeo.
Like
It's
cowboys?
It's like Roundup, only it's rodeo.
Okay.
But it's safer by the water.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it helps, Barbara.
Well, and there's a big difference between what you would do in your yard at home if you're on the lake as compared to the runoff that you get, from farm fields and things like that. Because, the little bit of, first of all, farm chemicals are 2 or 3 or 4 times more potent than anything that you would buy off the shelf. And so if you're using them, once a year at home, I wouldn't worry too much about lake runoff, especially if you're buying a pint of chickweed killer, that's not going to go from the weeds into a lake or a stream. That little bit isn't going to hurt anything, and so there's, on the other hand, if you're buying a commercial product and you're spraying it right on the water's edge, then yes, you definitely would have to be concerned.
If you're buying a commercial product, it tells you to wear a mask and
and proper clothing and
Yes.
gloves and
Kind of
And
look
so
like a
if you-
hazmat person.
right. So if you're going to look like a hazmat person, you're doing things to the nature that we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Thanks for waiting. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I was just listening to the gentleman's question about cleaning his stone, and something that's worked for me has been taking baking soda and wet down the surface, put baking soda on, let it sit on for a short time, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then you can power wash it off, or you can also take a brush. You don't have to use a steel brush, but something light just to rub it off, or kind of
more of a stiff broom, maybe even.
Right, a broom would work well.
Mhm.
Right, and then just wash it off, and it generally cleans it off pretty well. And the reason I know we've used it first, I've used it on gravestones.
Oh.
If you go through cemeteries, you see some of the old stones that have the lichen and the moss and mold and stuff on it. And we've used it, and you probably have to do it every couple 3 years. But it really seems to clean it up. And initially, when we used it on the gravestone, one day we put it on, and it looked like it took all the writing off underneath. But once it dried, it was still there. It frightened us for a second. But it will work well, and baking soda is relatively inexpensive, and it also doesn't have a lot of. It shouldn't damage any plants or any grass or anything.
Sure, right. That's a good remedy. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, baking soda is good for just about anything. It seems like, isn't
Yeah, no
it?
kidding.
And some of the when he's talking about gravestone, most of the gravestones today are made out of granite and things like that. They don't really accumulate. But some of those older gravestones that were made out of limestone, as you go into the older cemeteries or the older parts of cemeteries, you'll see more of those limestones. So that's, again, it's a lot of that was, hand chiseled headstones back in the day. And so, yeah, thanks for the call. That's a good.
You're welcome.
It's a good.
Good remedy.
A good remedy. Mm-hmm.
All righty. And the lines are open. 923-1450, 888-900-1450. Email that you just saw works for Barbara, KFIZ studio at gmail.com.
Yeah, she had kind of a multifaceted question there, too. I don't know if we answered
I think
everything.
you covered them all. I was
okay.
going through her questions. I think you got them all.
Okay. Yeah, that's always sometimes you get going on the first part of questions and you forget what the last part was.
Part A, Part B,
Anyway,
Part C.
yeah.
All
So
You before the break was over, you said you were going to talk about deer and something.
well, one of the questions that I seem to always get, and of course I got 2 or 3 or 4 of them this week because everybody's kind of getting out in their yard and they have planted these supposed deer-proof arborvitas, because if you ask AI, it'll tell you how deer-proof they really work. And of course, AI is great, but we got to teach AI to get a little bit better at what they're telling people, and AI will learn as it gets more
Knowledge.
as it gets more knowledge, But right now, the people that are selling Green Giant arborvita online are telling everybody that Green Giant arborvita are the fastest growing tree and they're the hardiest and they do the best and they're deer proof. And if you look at them online, boy, there's, they're better than tenderloin and Colby cheese, But then when you plant them in your yard, you find out it's a little more like Limburger. And because AI, kind of gathers up information off the internet and it doesn't always gather up correct information. And so, really, if you're in Fond du Lac or you're away from Lake Michigan or getting further north and west of here, you're going to find that Green Giant arborvita, not only they're kind of fast growing until they freeze back each year. So they grow 2 feet and then freeze back 1 foot, and then you end up with a foot of new growth instead of 2. So they don't end up being quite as fast as what you had hoped, and you end up with a lot of brown tips. So as you drive around the countryside, you'll see a lot of Green Giant arborvitas that are all browned up right now. And I'm not sure if they're going to survive or just die back halfway. We'll find out as they try to start growing here in the next couple weeks. And then you'll also find the ones that aren't next to the road and are out in your backyard. They're not even deer proof either. And the way it works with deer is they'll eat your Techni arborvita and your Emerald arborvita first, and as soon as they get done eating those, they'll move over and eat your Green Giant arborvita. It's not their first choice, but it's their second choice. And if you really want, deer-proof evergreens, you got to plant, if it's a high-intensity area, you'll have to plant a spruce tree, which a deer will eat anything before it starves to death, but it isn't their first choice. So they're going to eat your neighbor's arborvita and your neighbor's Canadian hemlock and before they eat your spruce or your, and the white pine, deer will eat those too. Again, it's, they kind of work their way down through the chain and they work with the best things first. And so that's kind of how, deer proof is only, it's not really ever deer proof. It's just some plants are more deer resistant than others. Let's just put it that way. So,
Alrighty.
So anyway, that's kind of the scoop on Green Giant arborvita. I would avoid them. And, especially if you're here in central Wisconsin. So
Break time.
So time for a break. Rademann's open today until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30. You can stop on out or give them a call at 920-922-7612.
We are back. Landscape Smart brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company, 920-923-1450, 888-900-1450. Email, it's kfizstudio@gmail.com. Ron is here. Delores, a master gardener, is here. And the lines are open for your questions for 15 more minutes or a little less. So if you have a question, now would be a really good time to call it in.
Yep, better than 14 minutes from now.
Yeah, the bad time.
The Master Gardener's plant sale has lots of vegetable plants, and they're doing really good in the greenhouse. Master Gardeners start all the vegetable plants themselves.
Wow. They get an early start then.
Yes, yes. Lots of tomatoes, peppers, onions, leek, kale.
Hopefully we don't have to worry about a frost by the time we get 2 weeks from now. It's going to be a cooler week yet, mostly. I didn't really see any days below freezing, but it's also going to be more in the 50s here.
Yeah, I think
the
there's one
10-day
night at
outlook
38,
is
I
mostly 50s and a couple 60s in there. So,
Yeah.
but
You-
no 70s
You
or
won't want
80s.
to. You won't want to plant your tomatoes or peppers yet. You want to keep those in your garage or in a window until you can get them in the ground
Mm-hmm.
So when should you stick them in?
when it's warm enough. And I can't give you a date,
Yeah, that's true. You don't know what the weather's going to be.
but for
That's
the
why
last
you have to
several
listen
years,
every week
To
for
find out,
Right.
yeah.
for
the
our,
last
for our
several years-
weather report.
we've been able to put them in before Memorial Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually just I look at the 38-day outlook but I pretty much look at the 10-day outlook almost every day, and that way I can kind of determine what to go after here this week. And I don't really look at the calendar. I look at trees and where they're at as far as bloom stage and buds, and you kind of go that way rather than looking at the actual dates on calendars. And then I take so if you're like right now as you drive around town, you'll see the flowering pears are all flowered out white. So it's not the flowering crabs, and it's not, and there could be some cherries flowering and magnolias, but for the most part, the street trees that you're seeing right now are flowering pear. So, and they don't have pears, for better or worse, I guess,
But they have flowers.
but they have pear-like flowers, and they're shaped, most of the flowering pears are kind of shaped like a pear, so you can kind of figure them out that way.
Yeah, it's always nice to see flowers.
Yeah, and then by next Saturday, we'll start to see some of the early blooming flowering crabs starting to flower. Flowering crabs kind of bloom over, we call the early season, the mid-season, and the late season bloomers. And the early season ones will be flowering then next weekend. And that's, when we're talking here, we're talking in the Fond du Lac area. If you're down, I was actually down in Beaver Dam a couple days ago, and they're 2 or 3 days ahead of us, just as close as Beaver Dam is, or if you get down to West Bend or, but as you get closer to Lake Michigan, you go over to Sheboygan or Port Washington, we're a little further ahead here than they are in Port Washington or Grafton.
When we had our 70s, they were still in the 50s.
Right. So it doesn't just mean south but as you get towards, Madison or Beaver Dam or Sun Prairie down that way, they're a few days ahead, and you go the other direction. I was driving through Fillmore and Boltonville last weekend, and they're a little behind us there because they're just further south, but closer to Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So
That lake effect.
mm-hmm.
I grew up near that lake effect. 923-1450, 888-900-1450, KFIZ studio at gmail.com for you. And while we have time before we start another subject, it's close enough. Let's take our final break, and then we can wrap.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. It's always good if we aren't rushed into the last minute. So yeah, Rademann's again. It's Saturday. At least if you're listening to us live, it's Saturday, and Rademann's is open till noon today. If you're listening to us on YouTube, well, it's probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Then we're open till 4:30. So
We'll be right back. And that is exactly where you can find replays of these programs. KFIZ.com on demand. We're back. Final few minutes of this week's edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
Yeah, you can. Well, if you go to on demand or on YouTube, you can listen to past episodes. You could actually even listen to last year's or the year before's, but you can't always listen by date, because our advice from last year at the end of April is probably different than this year at the end of April, because every season's a little bit different. And one year we're talking about drought and how you should be watering and things like that. And then this year we're
underwater.
We're trying to figure out how to navigate, the flooding and everything like that. So every year is a little bit different.
That is for sure. Mother Nature does not project well. Let's put it that way. You never know what you're going to get.
Well, and I was even, we were talking last week about, step 1 and step 2 and step 3. And of course, because I use my phone to work with the YouTube, I don't have access to it. Well, my friend Craig, from one of the owners of Touch the Earth Landscaping, he sent me a text, and he said, they do spraying and lawn care and all of that at Touch the Earth. So Craig's probably listening in. He can call in, but he was saying how they were kind of, they take soil temperatures, and he was actually doing step 1 yet last week, because the soil temperatures were low enough yet that the crabgrass wasn't germinating. And so I kind of do the eye test. They do the real tests, and they do, because there too, when you're getting close like that, it's important, because if you by 1 week can make a big difference. If the soil temperatures have risen just enough that step 1 isn't going to be effective. And now I'm sure it is, or by the time most areas are, I think you would want to move into step 2, unless you happen to be in Sheboygan listening. You could still do step 1 over there, or Manitowoc, or right near Lake Michigan again. But as you get further inland, obviously, then you're on to step 2, and you can see the dandelions that have just popped up now this week here, at least in Fond du Lac. So that when you see the dandelions, it's time to move to step 2.
Yep. I looked across the street last night when I was closing the drapes. They're out.
Yeah. Yep. When you see the yellow flowers, it tells you it's time for step 2. And you want to get them right now. If you wait and kill your dandelions in 2 weeks after they've seeded out, you've kind of missed your opportunity. But if you can catch them right now before they, go into seed, you'll kill them before they seed out. And so timing is everything. So get your step 2 down real quick.
Everything we do. I mean, it's all timing, and it's weather centric.
Yeah.
And it seems to all come at once.
Well, that's a fact, too. 923-1450. You got about 4 minutes left if you got a call and a question.
So, yeah, we talked again, if you're doing, everybody's kind of getting started on their lawn and fertilizer, and out at Rademann's, if you are doing some reseeding, and, make sure you pick up, if you're picking up seed at Rademann's, pick up the fertilizer that you should be using too. And, if you walk into, and just buy a bag of fertilizer off the shelf, it may or may not be, it's probably lawn fertilizer, but it may or may not be the right one to get your lawn started. It's usually, when you see lawn fertilizer in stores, it's for existing lawns. It not a new lawn.
Alrighty, different numbers.
Different numbers.
Alrighty. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I put down step 1 2 weeks ago. Is it too early, too soon to put down step 2 already?
I always like to wait about 3 weeks. So I would maybe wait till next weekend. And, but on the other hand, we've had a lot of rain and it's forecasted for cooler weather. So you could kind of cheat on that just a little bit. And so, yeah, you could put step 2 down. Ideally, I would maybe just, wait till next weekend. But if you're busy next weekend, then this week might be better than waiting 2 weeks to do it, because then you're going to kind of miss the opportunity to get rid of your dandelions like we talked. And sometimes you can put step 2 down twice if you get it down early enough like this, and then wait another 3 weeks and put a second application of step 2 down. You can kind of get the early weeds like the dandelions together with the later weeds that way.
That sounds like a good plan.
So yeah, when we say 3 weeks apart, you kind of have to, again, if it was hot and dry over the last couple of weeks, and forecasted to be hot and dry over the next couple of weeks, then you'd maybe want to for sure wait to 3 weeks. But with the weather conditions that we're currently experiencing, I think you can cheat on that a little bit, so to speak. So,
all right. Thank you for the information.
All right.
Yeah, actually it's a very good question, a good call. So thanks for calling in.
All righty. We are rapidly running out of time. About 1.25 minutes left.
Ooh, that's cutting it close.
That's really cutting it close.
Yeah. I don't know if we can start a new debate there. I guess. I
got a quick question for you. You always talk about using bark mulch.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular bark that we should be using?
Well, most
any
of the,
bark.
The shredded bark or shredded, products are good. Most of it's color related. I like just using natural.
Most of the bags of the
hardwood
boxes are
or
cypress.
Yeah, and cypress or hemlock.
Okay.
But I'm not too, I don't like
Not
the
that
dyed
picky.
ones personally.
No, I don't either.
But
All righty, that's a wrap.
yeah, well, that was a quick minute and 10 seconds. Anyway, Rademann's open today till noon, Saturday, Monday through Friday till 4:30. 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and then east on County B, just a quarter of a mile.
Our thanks to Master Gardener Delores, our thanks to Ron, and our thanks to you for your calls. We will be back next week with another edition of Landscape Smart. KFIZ Fond du Lac, it's 9 o'clock.